In today's text, Isaiah presents the address of a servant God called even before his birth. Verse 1 says, "The Lord called me before I was born. While I was in my mother's womb, he named me." And then the Lord gave the servant a specific task to accomplish, to bring the exiles back home and to gather God's people again who had been driven to faraway lands by conquering armies. He was to be as focused as a polished arrow, hidden away in God's quiver until it was time to act. The words of the servant, according to Isaiah 49:2, would penetrate resistance like a sharp sword. This text comes and emerges from a time when everything seemed to be going wrong. The northern part of the nation had been conquered by Assyria more than a century ago. The people were scattered to distant nations. Judah was in the south, and they had been overrun by Babylon. The walls of Jerusalem were now reduced to rubble. The temple of the Lord was in ruins. Leaders of the nations were taken captive with little hope for return. Dreams disappeared, dashed upon the stones of captivity. No wonder the servant's initial efforts were exercises in futility. The servant now laments, and his lament sounds like our lament. I've labored in vain. I've spent my strength for nothing and vanity. The servant in our text is disheartened because those who need this word are not listening. It is not the work which exhausts him, but the feeling that nothing comes of it. I know your head is hung down, but God can get the glory out of your failure, because the truth is God never calls us to get results. God calls us to be faithful, and sometimes the results are positive, sometimes they're negative. But if you can get the glory out of God, can get the glory out of your life, then God can grow you beyond success and failure. Friends, pay attention to the turning point in the text. The next two words in verse 4 are decisive for the complaining servant and for God's discouraged people. They are decisive words because they announce that God is about to transform our perception of reality from failure to possibility. Note this, two words, and God gets our attention. Two words speak to divine reversal. Two words changes the trajectory of this tragic occurrence. Two words, and here they are. In verse 4, he says, "Yet surely, even though I'm discouraged, I've got a yet surely. In the midst of my complaint, there is a yet surely. Come on. Yet surely my cause is with the Lord, and my reward is with my God." Somebody type "yet surely," because in the words "yet surely," the Lord refreshes the memory of God's servant. And you ought to know God's servant is not just an individual. God's servant represents the community who's saying to God, "God, we've tried, and it looks like everything we've tried has failed, but yet surely the God who makes ways out of no way is the same God that can raise you up and take you further. You ain't seen nothing yet. You've been created for so much more. You've been created for so much greater. I gotta cut across the field, but come on and help me and say, "God, get me ready for greater. God, get me ready for what's next. God, get me ready for my promotion." And promotion doesn't come from a conference. Promotion doesn't come from the hierarchy. Promotion doesn't come from a personnel committee. Promotion doesn't come from your cut buddies. Promotion doesn't come from politicians, but promotion comes from God.